Fuck it. Let's do it live.
Fuck it, we'll do it live.
Fuck it. We're doing it live.
Fuck it, we'll do it live.
He gets
All
it.
right. This is Stumbling Down History Road. Tonight on our episode, we're going to be covering samurai movies and how they pretty much influenced a huge proportion of most modern media and people don't even realize. And how they kind of came into prevalence and some of the notable directors and notable movies of that type of sort. I'm Jackson. On the phone we got...
John Laurel.
All right. And next to me?
I'm D as always.
All right. So, who wants to start us off on how we would kind of like define a samurai movie? Because I actually got into a little bit of a conversation with this the other day about somebody was saying, all right, I think Sucker Punch is a samurai movie because there's a samurai sword in it. Does it boil down to that simple?
I mean, in a manner of speaking, kind of yes and no. I mean, there are Western, like, I guess we'll just, for the sake of it, I'm going to refer to samurai films kind of in the general preference of either of Chanbara films or I think it's Jidaigeki.
Jidaigeki.
Yeah, I think that's how you pronounce it.
Yeah, that's the best that, we could do, I think.
But I mean, one of them isn't even technically a samurai film. It's called Ghost Dog: Way of the Samurai, and it's more about kind of being a samurai in the modern day than it is about actual samurai. And they do technically consider it a samurai film.
Okay.
So it is a yes and no answer. So
What's your take on it, John? Do you think that all you need is a samurai sword to be considered a samurai movie?
Well, I think with that movie, it did have a little bit more. It did have some more Eastern type of influence. Where, of course, like one of the guys that she went up against was like this big type of demon, Japanese demon, look also like a samurai, so to speak.
I think it was like a
and in the
giant
moves that
robot
she
type
did
thing,
too. Yeah.
it was a few different sequences. The first was the two mook samurai with katana, like big demonis. I think one with a minigun and then a third one with a naginata, but I could be wrong.
Okay.
I remember one of them did have a minigun though, which I was like, oh, neat, giant samurai demon with a minigun.
All right, so it sounds like I'm a little outvoted. I'd said no, I don't think that it would quantify a samurai movie based solely off the fact that it's just a chick with a sword.
I mean, it also does accomplish like war, fantasy, and future robots too, all in the same film. She goes through at least 4 or 5 genres of film during the film itself, not including the stuff that's also outside of her delusions, which are also outside of her delusions, because it's a film and a story. Anyway.
Yeah, but the point that he was more
I think
trying to argue in order to win this was that samurai sword, therefore samurai movie, which I don't necessarily just agree with one shot. I can see your point.
I'm kind of on board with you on that too, in that it had some elements of a samurai movie, but it wasn't a what I would refer to as a true samurai movie, because yes, she had the sword, she had
Hello?
that were kind of
You cut in and out
medieval Japanese-esque.
You said she had the sword, and then we lost.
She
you a
had the
little bit.
sword. She had the sword and she had the moves, but I would say that it was not a true samurai movie in essence, where it was wall to wall samurai movies. Because like Dee was saying, there's also the the other parts of her mind that had these conflicts going on. Like some of them were in like the like the trenches of like World War I or World War II. So I don't really call it a full samurai movie. I would say it's got the influence in there, so to speak.
Yeah.
So
I mean, if we're also almost going by that, we could almost. I mean, I'm sure the guy would probably almost end up arguing that Pulp Fiction is a samurai film because it has a samurai sword in it.
Kill Bill.
Although
Kill Bill.
Kill Bill is definitely more of a Chanbara film, but I mean, you could almost argue that Pulp Fiction itself does kind of envelop. It's about like kind of like it I would say Pulp Fiction is almost more, in a sense, thematically and kind of how it's presented a samurai film.
I would say that one aligns more so, yes,
Because,
than Sucker Punch.
Like you could almost see like Vincent Vega and the Jules almost as like Ronin and stuff. Sorry, stuff and everything like.
Okay.
It almost or like. I'd actually almost say it's more closer to Zatoichi film in that sense, since they're working for like Crime Boss and Crime Family.
So
Sorry.
let's talk a little bit about like where it all kind of came to be, I guess. Obviously, samurai are historical figures, so we have a baseline there. Do we want to talk about what a samurai typically is associated with? Because there's always like anime and manga, and people depict them as like wandering ronin, and then there's the like daimyo aspect of people where they're all armored up. I mean, last week we covered TMNT, and some people would be like, "Oh, look, Shredder. That's almost samurai armor type nonsense."
I mean, ninja.
So do we want to like kind of classify what a samurai is versus just ninja? I know, just from talking to you very briefly before this, John, you said that you have some input on like sort of ninja review stuff. If you want to, quantify.
Yeah.
Well, I've been studying martial arts for a long time as well, and then also the history of the samurai. The samurai were basically like the law of that time, or the knights of that time for Japan, where samurai was meant to serve. So they served their lord, and they were enforcers of the law for that lord.
Okay. And were there
And
like,
it was to be carried in a high esteem because, of course, the types of swords that they had, and then they had two swords that they were given to carry with them at all times, and then the short one was to be in case of failure or in case they needed it as a backup. So yeah,
Actually,
a
funny.
lot was put behind the whole mysticism, or the whole I would say the foundation for becoming a samurai. So
okay.
I mean, interestingly enough, though, the historically the wearing of the two swords thing actually wasn't a mandated thing for the samurai until the Edo period, when Tokugawa basically kind of partially restructured the social organization and political organization of the whole country to more or less put himself into an almost permanent position of political power. Many peasants actually ended up carrying swords themselves, especially the merchant class. They would tend to carry their own type of cheaper made wakizashi that they would use for self-defense or for travels. In fact, many peasants even had their own cheap swords or had weapons themselves, that like spears or cheaper things that they had, because they were oftentimes called to be, the basic ashigari foot soldiers on the battlefield, while the samurai were typically like very much like the knights. Yes, a few
Cavalry type thing.
They were typically, most samurai were on horse mounted, and even then during this Sen. Yeah. Okay, sorry, I mix up Sen and Sangoku because Sangoku is the three warring states period of China. That's the Japanese way they refer to it. Where Sengoku is the warring states period of Japan, and literally it's one letter of difference, so whatever. But yeah, up until a certain point, the actual most important weapon a samurai used before the Edo period was actually their Yumi bow. In fact, mounted archery is considered a specialty practice in Japan for like top tier athletes and military people.
I find it weird that a lot of like the mysticism and like ceremonial aspects and like recognition of a samurai having a bow really just kind of gets lost, especially given modern periods. I mean, basically everybody always thinks of the sword, and nobody ever really thinks to consider other weapons that they had.
Well, like I said, that was because of the Tokugawas.
Okay.
Mostly the Tokugawa was the one who, like I said, the samurai class, because it was very, very rigidly caste structured in Japan. I mean, not as crazy as say India, which whole bag of worms there, but in this class it was the daimyo and warlords. Well,
Okay.
the emperor, the daimyo and warlords, the samurai, the craftsmen, the peasants, and then the merchants.
Huh.
Believe it or not, technically the merchants were the lowest considered class in Japan.
Interesting.
They still were rich. They were still richer and everything, and like they were, but for all intents and purposes, they were considered the lower class because the peasants were more likely, I said, to be called on as foot soldiers, and they also made the food that everybody ate. So their
Interesting.
importance technically was more important than the guys who bought and sold shit for possibly foreigners, which they fucking hated foreigners.
Interesting. John, do you have any input on that?
No, he brought a lot of good stuff to the table so far. Yeah.
Okay.
I
Are
mean,
are you able to tell me like when he was comparing Pulp Fiction, he said Vincent Vega and Jules were Ronin. Could you tell us what a Ronin is compared to like say samurai and where they differ, like the differences in what a daimyo is, and just a little bit more explanation on that?
Ronin, from what I was told, was more along the lines of like a nomad. They were not working specifically for a specific warlord, what have you.
Okay, so
So
almost mercenary type.
that's
well, yeah,
pretty much from what I was told in my studies in the past. So
They were,
Okay, so-
they were born into the samurai class, so you can't change that. In fact, to bring it into samurai cinema, during Seven Samurai, one of the characters is a peasant posing as a samurai. And what they are hiring is they aren't hiring samurai technically, they are hiring ronin, which are masterless samurai, which, yes, as he said, don't have a daimyo.
Okay.
Toshiro Mifune, who is probably one of the biggest actors in samurai film, if not Japanese.
Period.
Yeah,
Cinema. Period.
yeah, I'm pretty sure he passed on, but he was massive. Like I said, his character was born a peasant, and there's a lot of symbolism with him throughout the film. But
Who did he play? Like what?
He was,
what notable roles?
well, like I said, he was in Seven Samurai. He played the peasant turned samurai Kikuchio.
Okay.
I think that's how you pronounce it. He played the titular Yojimbo in the Yojimbo film and Sanjuro films.
I have heard of that one.
Okay, do you know Fistful of Dollars?
I was going to say my favorite samurai movie is The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Because, as it turns out, they really did borrow a lot on a lot of different things.
The Yojimbo specifically was the one that became Fistful of Dollars, which is the first of the Dollars trilogy.
Yes.
Sergio Leone just basically copy-pasted the whole movie and just made it Western. And he actually, Kurosawa actually sued him for it successfully as a copyright thing. And it's kind of jokingly that Kurosawa, at the end of the day, when the thing was said and done, went over to Leone and said, "Bro, I fucking loved your film. It was a masterpiece.
You just needed to ask.
You
though.
literally, all you have to do is just ask me permission, and I would have let you have done it." Because he infamously worked very closely with the guy who made The Magnificent Seven, which was the remake of,
Seven Samurai.
yeah,
Okay.
which then got remade by Chris Pratt, I think, a few years back. I still haven't seen that remake.
Okay.
neither have I. The other notable that I remember was Lord Tornaga from the series of Shogun in the 80s. And
Are we talking about me?
and then he was also in Midway, the original Midway that came out in the 70s, late 70s.
Are we talking about Toshiro Mifune still? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And I was going to finish off with he was also Miyamoto Musashi in the Samurai trilogy, which was not done
Yes.
by Kurosawa, which wasn't done by Kurosawa.
Interesting.
Also, yeah, he's a phenomenal actor.
So, would you say that like a lot of what typical people consider like samurai or things like that in most modern media are actually more akin to Ronin as opposed to actual samurai? Because they don't work under like a particular warlord. Like let's say Demon Slayer. They're associated with like, oh yes, they're almost samurai-like. They're all samurai swords, things like that. Or Bleach is another one where there's a lot of sword fighting, a lot of things of that nature.
For all intents and purposes, you could say that the characters from Bleach and Demon Slayer are closer to samurai because they are part of a structured organization hierarchy.
Okay.
Because they serve under, like the Demon Slayer ones, they serve under a family that actually funds
That's
and
true.
runs them. And in Bleach, they technically serve under the Soul King in the Imperial Court, so they would be more akin to Imperial samurai that would have served the Emperor of Japan,
Okay.
versus a daimyo samurai, which serves underneath a daimyo, which is basically just a high-ranking samurai warlord who technically has lineage that traces to the Emperor.
Okay, so almost like a duke, if we were to refer to him as like.
They would be
European
No, it would be
knight.
they would be daimyo would be more akin to they would be they'd be more like feudal lords. Yes, they're basically feudal lords, whereas like the emperor would be the king.
The King of Britain, who I didn't vote for. Who was that? You're the Britons.
I didn't vote for him.
Monty Python reference. Reference to the reference.
Hey, we haven't done one of those in a while.
Yeah. So, daimyo akin to like a duke or a feudal lordship.
Yes.
Okay, knights being samurai, very
Yes.
like almost 1-to-1. Ronin being hired knights.
If they could get work, they would, but typically they were. Most Ronin came about like one of 2 or 3 ways. The first was they were basically fired by their daimyo, which really doesn't happen. The second one was their daimyo passed away. Or the third one was they lost a battle and are just kind of too ashamed to go back to their daimyo.
Okay, because they had the whole like harikiri type thing where if you lose,
Yes.
you're supposed to.
It technically wasn't every time you lost you're supposed to commit seppuku.
Sure, if it was like a loss of pride type of thing, almost, right?
Yeah, they tried it. They tried it to avoid that before the Edo period because you'd be effectively losing it's basically a money
It's a lot
sink.
of manpower.
It's a money sink because you're losing but during the Edo period it became a little bit more commonplace, but it ended up typically mostly being for people who broke court law.
Okay.
Because court law was extremely enforced during the Edo period. That's how you get the story of the 47 Ronin, for example, which
Okay.
became several films. There's a 2-parter, which wasn't done by Kurosawa. It was done by somebody who was close to Kurosawa. I don't remember his name off the top of my head. I'll check it in a minute. Then you had the one with Keanu Reeves and a few other different variations.
Gotcha.
Yeah, what happened was the 2 daimyos were at a court, and the one daimyo grievously insulted the other one. So the one that was insulted drew his sword in an attempt to attack him, and that goes against court law. So, in order for him to technically his household to still be allowed to kind of still be there, but not, and because he was a daimyo, kind of dissolved the house. But if it was a Roman in his house,
Sure,
it's whatever. Anyway, he was forced to commit seppuku, and then his 47 most closest retainers spent 2 years slumming it while secretly planning, and then they executed an attack on the insulting lord. And
Gotcha.
yeah,
What's your take on all this, John?
sorry.
As far as
I mean, is it just all new information to you?
a lot of it's refreshers from the olden days, yes. But 47 Ronin, yes, I remember seeing a couple of versions of that. The Keanu Reeves one was pretty good, but it's good to cover the background to the samurai and man, you did your homework. I like it. It's awesome.
This is literally just all old like kind of.
Yeah,
I don't want to. I'll just phrase this is just my autistic ramblings. I guess
Definitely, you're good. No worries.
Oh, but it wasn't Kurosawa. It was Kenji Mizoguchi,
Okay.
and it was from 1941. So okay, I'm gonna rip a huge Band-Aid off here when it comes to samurai films.
Prep yourself. You ready for this?
Pretty much all samurai films and pretty much all samurai information pre 1947. When did we finish World War II? I don't remember. Whatever. Pretty much pre 1950s is basically wartime propaganda. The Bushido Code, for all intents and purposes, really wasn't as a strict and upheld thing as people like to think it was, and they kind
Wartime propaganda on our half or on Japan's
half.
Okay.
It,
Just because that is a distinction.
yes. It was. Basically a lot of. I mean, we did it ourselves too. But
We never once used any sort of propaganda during any war.
Yeah,
I don't know what you're talking about.
the samurai films pretty much pre 1950s or whatever. Whenever I can't remember the exact year the war ended, so whatever. Is basically just kind of promoting the samurai spirit to, make kids want to go to war.
Interesting.
That's why they even brought back the gunto katanas the way they looked, because they're trying to use
What's
this.
a gunto katana?
So
Just so we don't go deep down that dark rabbit hole.
well, there's several. there's a few different versions. But essentially, what they are is a semi version of like it. The mounting style is almost like between a tachi and a katana, and it's
You're saying words at me. Could somebody explain?
It's an officer's sword that was given to officers during World War II. It's a bit more militarized. They use a metal sheath. Some of them used metal or aluminum handles. Some of them had more traditional style handles. But they tended to kind of be hung like a saber would instead of being tucked into your belt like a katana would be.
Okay.
A
A couple other differences.
A lot of them would have like a lock on it, so it'd be locked into the saya when you're not.
Saya being
The
sheath.
sheath, yes.
Gotcha.
It's essentially it's a samurai sword for the modern war, kind of.
Their equivalency of an officer's saber for the Marines. Type
Yes,
of a
and
thing.
even then,
Okay.
before that, they had a saber themselves, the Kyu Gunto, which was essentially a katana-styled blade with a saber handle. In fact, they even had special officer ones that were just old katanas that they remounted with the double-handled style saber, and I really want one because I like that look.
Okay.
Yeah, but
John?
those, like I said, they got rid of the Kyu Guntos in favor of the regular, more katana-looking Guntos to go with that. Sorry, anyway.
Do you have any samurai swords, John?
I have ninja swords, which were not really. So there's the whole debate about that. That ninja, there were never really any true ninja straight swords for the ninjas. This was mostly stuff that's created by the Shokasugi era and the Mike Stone era that I collect. I used to have some katana that were made by Bugai many years ago, and my previous apartment got burglarized, so I lost all of them at that
Oof,
burglary. So
Sorry to hear
yeah,
that.
Ouch. That
but
sucks.
it's good to start over with what I'm getting into now with the whole ninja movie craze and getting hold of some stuff that was actually used in some of the movies and stuff too. So
Oh, sweet. You got
Not-
actual props?
Not quite samurai.
I
movie,
have
but
I do have a stunt sword from Revenge of the Ninja. That's my little claim to fame at this moment. So
That's bitching.
it's not quite samurai movie. But talk to us about the little ninja movie craze that you got going on. You said you got like a
Yeah, plug
well,
yourself.
Yeah.
it's kind of like it's kind of like the things that we grew up with, kind of in almost in the same vein that you guys do, where y'all talk about things that are part of y'all's personal history. Same thing with me. I grew up watching the Star Wars movies, and then when the Star Wars movies ended, I got into the next transition, which was the ninja craze during the 80s and seeing Shokasugi and stuff like that. And my first movie that I saw of his was Revenge of the Ninja, and then I went back and saw Enter the Ninja. And then somewhat 30, 40 years later, Ran into a couple buddies of mine that had met him and bought a bunch of his stunt swords out of his studio, and they were selling one. So I got a hold of one and was able to kind of make that as my prime collection piece at this moment. And then I just collect other Ninjato that came out around that time. So
Sounds awesome.
Weird question, but have
Thank
you
you.
seen the JKOO sword Enter the Ninja replica that they sell?
yes, I've got one.
Oh, you do? I've been meaning
Yeah.
to pick one up when I get the extra few bucks. How is it?
Dude, get it on Amazon because I think it's still about 30, 40 bucks cheaper. But they have
Is it
both. They
really?
have Kohl's and they have Hasegawa's now. And
Yeah, I want to get.
it's a really nice sword. I did a review on Kohl's sword because I got it off of Amazon Prime the other day. It was like
Yeah, it was a bit
130
cheaper.
bucks or whatever. So I was like, dude,
You said you did a review of it?
yes, it's on my YouTube channel. I did a review of it. It's a nice blade for its price, man. I was surprised because it's
Go ahead.
130 bucks and you're getting some pretty nice steel.
What are you doing, man? Go ahead and plug your YouTube channel.
Yeah,
we
plug
didn't know
your channel
that.
Real quick.
Go ahead, man.
No? Yeah.
You don't wanna
it's,
plug it?
All right. Well, you can do it at the end of the episode if you want. But yeah, it's 9260. That stuff. I have three 9260 Katana style blades. They're you could beat the tar out of those things, man. They're.
Yep.
I actually got one. It's the. Do you know Chenis, the company?
Not familiar with them, no.
Well, they're the guys who kind of like popularized the 109260 katana. They had they sold the Bujinkan Oniyuri, the one that's supposed to be based off from Bujinkan Ninjutsu, the one that they
Really?
yeah the Bujinkan Ninjutsu Society actually had them do it with Aito and regular sharp ones. It's got a 11-inch handle, a larger kind of
Nice.
square suba, and then the blade is about what's a suba? The cross guard, kind of sort of the katana.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's the round little disc that you see that they.
Gotcha.
It's technically not supposed to guard your hand. It's supposed to keep your hand from going up the.
But the saber
Exactly.
equivalent
From cutting
would
your
be,
fingers off.
Gotcha. The saber equivalent would be like a handgun.
But yeah, then it's got a 30-inch saya, but the blade's only about I want to say 25 inches. So you got like that five.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's got the long handle, the shorter blade, the long. So, I'm actually going to make it so you could. There's batarangs in the suba that you could take and throw. So yeah, like I just gotta get.
Nice. Oh, the little bow shuriken, the little angled ones.
No, like batarangs from like the one.
Batman?
Yeah, specifically the ones from.
Oh, really?
Specifically the ones from Batman Begins because they can make the square ninja style shape. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm gonna make it so it's like you have like a little thing that holds them, and then you just put them on there with a magnet. And you can take them off and throw them.
Interesting.
Very nice.
Doing a whole.
In that same vein of the two Enter the Ninja sword, which has a 21-inch blade,
I'm
it's
gonna cut you off real quick. You cut out a little bit. Could you just repeat what you said? You said you have the two Enter the Ninja swords.
Then you had a sorry.
Oh yes. So in the same vein as the Enter the Ninja swords, there is also that same company. They make a Shokasugi Ninjato. It's about $360 or whatever,
Yeah,
and
must be new.
it's got a 20 to 21 inch blade and an 11-inch handle. Very nice. I did take a bigger Suba and put it on that one now, and so now that sword to me is like my ideal go-to sword. I love it. So
Does it have a little hidden sheath dagger at the bottom or no?
no, that one is what they refer to as the SK1, which is his version, where he also has at the end of the
The
handle, he's got like a little cap that has also a little area for darts and bow shuriken and such. So
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know the one you're talking about. Okay, yeah. Yeah, so
the elusive SK1.
Okay, so for just some, Sho Kosugi was one of the. He's basically the ninja equivalent of Toshiro Mifune. If I kind of.
Yes.
He,
Toshiro Mifune was
the
the
samurai guy.
Yeah, the
Yes.
actor. Yeah.
He's kind of the ninja equivalent to that, where he portrays like. He also does Jubei Yagiru, who's between ninja and samurai. That's a whole other thing.
Okay, so he would be John Wayne of westerns back in the day.
He would, yeah, he'd kind of be the John Wayne of westerns, where Toshiro Mifune is the Clint Eastwood of westerns. Although
I would say that
No.
John Wayne was bigger than Clint Eastwood.
well,
I would argue that.
yeah, no, that's kind of a weirder equivalency because I view John Wayne as kind of a fucking joke, but I'm sorry, I get it. He's a good actor, all that, but it's just. I just can't take him seriously in westerns anymore. I don't know why.
He picks up a kid and he throws him into the river.
God, that fucking clip.
And then he picks up the mother and throws her into the river.
I don't know how to swim. Well, you gonna learn.
How could you not love John Wayne?
But anyway, he's kind of popular. He really popularized that straight ninja style sword.
Okay.
And he also started the whole thing of like putting hidden like daggers and blowguns and stuff into the sword itself. So if you see like any of those like online where it's like a ninja sword, it's got like a little dagger at the bottom of the sheath, or it's got like a
Little extra weapons.
Yeah, blowgun in it or
Gotcha.
something like. Yeah, that's because of him.
Okay.
Yeah.
To bring it back into samurai cinema, I do have a question. Other than the fact, like, samurai, a little bit more knighty, ninja, a little bit more sneaky, a little bit more spy-like, is there really that much of a difference in terms of, like, what goes on? I know, as we said, the Yojimbo series basically just, like, this is Sierra Leone's Fistful of Dollars. Like, I know that's kind of, like, super dramatic and like things like that. Is there any other notable differences, or is it just like, all right, yes, straight sword, curved sword?
The biggest difference I would say is ninja films can take place both in the past and can be in the modern day, where samurai films can almost exclusively just kind of be in the past. I mean, I
Interesting.
can't say you can't make a modern samurai film like with modern day samurai, like it's doable, but they tend to be predominantly based in the past during like the.
They're period pieces.
Yes, they are effectively period pieces. Yes.
Yeah, the
Where
the Gidai.
Sengoku Jireki.
Yeah,
That's
Gendeki.
the Jidai.
Gendeki?
Well, we said Jidaigeki film is the type of period piece. That means
Okay.
period piece in general. That means it's going in the past. Chambara specifically means samurai based because it means fencing essentially, or chopping and cutting.
gotcha.
We're kind of using the words interchangeably, so I'm sorry, but
Yeah, sorry, we're obviously not super proficient with dialects we don't know.
we're not
Have-
sum up professors.
Yeah.
Have either of y'all seen the movie The Hunted? Not the one with Tommy Lee Jones and not the one with Benji. I've actually talked about this movie in particular, but the one with Christopher Lambert.
I don't even know who Christopher Lambert is.
I know Christopher Lambert.
He was in The Highlander.
I have not.
He was the Highlander. Yeah,
Yeah, he played the main Highlander guy.
yeah.
That's his biggest movie, but he's done other stuff.
Sure. I know
If you
Christoph
But have
Waltz.
y'all seen the Hunted though? Probably
I've
not.
not seen that one
I don't
specifically,
believe so.
no, unfortunately.
That was wait.
Okay.
Is the Hunted based off like the billionaires putting the people in the thing and then no, that's something else, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that was like Surviving the Game or something like that.
Yeah,
But
okay.
The Hunted was kind of like a modern day ninja / samurai film. It was made in '95, and it starred Christopher Lambert, and it had some different actors to them. It had like John Lone, and it had Joan Chen in it as the actress or whatever. But it was based on present day Japan, where this gentleman encounters a lady at this bar, and she has one last night with him because she knows that she's being assassinated. Turns out it's a ninja clan, and then it turns out that with this ninja clan there is a samurai descendant that's wanting to fight the main leader of this ninja clan to, I guess, restore his family's honor or whatever. But it's
This
a pretty good movie. I was really surprised by it, and it's been one that's been kind of been in my DVD, so to speak, for DVD player for to be cycled for a while because it is a good movie. I thought.
Oh my god, I want to say that sounds just like the plot of a fuck. What is his name? Stephen Campbell novel. Oh man, he does a lot of books based on like that type of stuff. I can't think of his name.
I figured it out though.
Buggers.
Star Wars is a samurai film
Technically, yes.
with
actually.
magic,
Technically, yes. Actually, believe it or not. Okay.
Agreed.
So,
whereas James Bond would be closer to ninja.
also there is a James Bond ninja film. Yes.
Boom. Figured it out, people.
So,
We can go home now.
real quick, the
Well,
believe it or not-
definitely. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So, the to bring back to your Star Wars assumption too, Star Wars itself was basically just almost a partial remake of The Hidden Fortress by Akira Kurosawa.
You've said him before?
Yes, he's the guy who did Yojimbo, Seven Samurai.
Yeah, like 90%, not 90, like a good solid 50% of the good samurai movies.
Believe it or not, a asswhack of things that you love today in modern media and stuff go back directly to Kurosawa. Star Wars, for example, like I said, the story is the first movie, A New Hope, is basically a partial retelling
It's
of
just Hamlet.
him. Well, actually, that's a Ran.
Macbeth? Am I thinking Macbeth?
Okay, so Macbeth and Hamlet are also Kurosawa films.
Yes, but not directly. He has
Yes.
their own take on it.
He not Hidden Fortress, but it's Iran and Throne of Blood. One is one is the other. I can't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah.
I'll check in a minute, but yeah. So Star Wars was the story itself was partially based off Hidden Fortress. It's about taking a princess back to. In fact, there's even like the older, experienced general character who has to fight like his apprentice and stuff. It's on my.
No, I'm trying to remember what Shakespeare I was thinking of for Star Wars. Keep doing your thing.
You might be thinking of King Lear,
Maybe.
because I know King Lear is another one I think that he also partially riffs off of. But and then the first technical use I think of the term ninja was in a James Bond film, You Only Live Twice, where he fakes his death and then goes and lives in Japan for a while, ends up with the Japanese lady, and thinking of the books he technically actually dies, but in the novel, the movie, he doesn't because it's based off one of the. But yeah, there's a whole modern day ninja clan that goes and I think helps either him or is the bad guy. It's been
It's been too long.
I don't remember if I've actually seen that movie in whole off the top of my head.
But that's the first time that ninja is used.
I think that is technically the first time that the word ninja itself is used in film.
Interesting.
Maybe specifically English and American films and not Japanese ones. It's been a minute, but yeah, it's considered one of the first known times of the utterance of the word ninja in film is in a James Bond film.
Huh.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
For English films, yes.
Huh. Intriguing.
Okay, so it was English. I might be thinking something else with Japanese films, but yeah.
John, what is your favorite samurai film?
Ooh. Currently, I would have to say 13 Assassins.
That is a good one, yeah.
And I know there's the 61 version, and I've seen that one, but I do like the more recent version. It's just because it proves to me that they can still make a really good, 2011, I think it was when the most recent one was made. To me, it still proves that they can still harken back to those classic samurai films and still really get you, into the film. That movie has me. I always tell people it's like if you haven't seen it, it's kind of like the samurai version of The Unforgiven in a way, where they're going out to get this guy, and, and then it's like I just tell people a little bit about that, and then they start watching it, and they're like, oh hell yeah. So
So
It's
is samurai films more about the drama or more about the action for you?
I think it's got to be a good balance of both, because then they do save all the really good fights at the end, and how they're intricate, and everybody has their own duty on what they need to do to set these traps for this warlord and everything. So I I love it how it kind of builds, where it's like there's not really in that film there's enough to kind of keep you interested, where it's not just a lot of talking or whatever, but it does build to a really good ending, and it's just yeah.
it is a
I actually
brutal
watched
film,
it
yeah.
just yesterday, so
Okay.
It it would have to be a toss up between Yojimbo and the Samurai trilogy as a whole. I think would be for me. It's either like Yojimbo and I'd even probably throw in Sanjo too, because the whole big blood spray flying all over the stuff that actually traces back to Sanjuro, which in and of itself, interesting enough, was actually an accident. So what had happened was during the final
What had happened was
during the climactic duel between
climactic.
Toshiro Mifumi's character and the guy who he's kind of been rivaled with at the end. He cuts the guy, and what happened was there was supposed to be like a small like a bit of blood coming out of him, but he accidentally nicked the hose, like the pressurized hose that that held the blood in, because it was supposed to do the cut, and then like a little bit of blood just kind of goes just to symbolize that it was cut.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, he nicked the hose, so it just went all over the place.
I think I remember hearing about that, where Kurosawa was like, the famous blood spray, like that's where it started.
Yes. And when he falls over, you can actually kind of almost see him trying to force himself to stay down, because the blood was pressurized and trying to kind of push him back up.
Yeah.
And it could get, but yeah, that whole kind of like big like climactic blood spray from like a slash and stuff thing. Yeah, that, like I said, that goes to Kurosawa.
Doesn't he also hold the record for before like The Shining, and then whatever took after it afterwards? Like one of the highest amount of fake blood use in a movie.
That could be, yeah. It's I think and
I heard something about that too. I think you're right.
I think Takeshi Miike might have that now though.
I want to say it's Chapter 2 that has it. At least that's the last I heard about it.
It could be, I don't know, but I know if you know Takeshi Miike Films, who is also, he makes some really good modern day samurai films too. He also does fucked up films and kids films too, believe it or not. This guy's all over the fucking place.
You can call him a dabbler. He dabbles.
Well, like no, he he's in like there's a really popular like kids. It was like a film at first, but then it became like a live action like magical girl show or whatever it is. And yeah, he's like he's like producer / director of it. He's done like, do you know the movie Ichi the Killer? Probably one of the most famous, bloodiest, like gory.
Yes.
I know of it.
That's him, Takeshi Miike. He did Blade of the Immortal. I think that was technically his 100th film. That's based off a manga. It's a samurai film. It's about an immortal samurai who is protecting a girl or trying to get revenge for a girl for a family. Really good. He did what else has he done? He's done a lot of shit. But yeah, he's done like fucking 150 plus films now, and he just all over the place, like completely fucked up, depraved shit to like I said, kids films to like historical drama and stuff. Like he's all over the place. Yeah, Takeshi Miike, he's really good. But yeah, his most well known film though is Ichi the Killer.
Okay.
And
then I said my favorite samurai film earlier.
which was
It was Good, Bad, Ugly. It's samurai.
the Good,
Don't try
the Bad, the Ugly. That one's actually not specifically based off any samurai film.
No, but it is definitely a samurai film.
Kind of, sort of, yes.
Just with guns. So, while you look up a little bit more of Ichi the Killer's, I'm not going to try and pronounce it, director's work. Let's talk about how...
Oh yeah, he also did Audition. Sorry.
You're
And
good.
he was 13 Assassins too. Yeah. Okay. That's what I was. Okay, yeah, he did 13 Assassins too. John's favorite samurai film.
Let's talk a little bit about how, they basically influenced a lot of modern media and what we can see of them today. As stated, I listed a couple manga / anime earlier that are like just some of the most popular out there, period, in terms of manga and anime. So let's talk about a little bit about the influence.
I mean, I've kind of been spouting in minor influence stuff throughout the whole
Yeah.
thing, like with the Kurosawa. So
Kurosawa, Star Wars,
Yeah.
spaghetti westerns. John, you got anything?
It's still even like, well, I don't really watch a lot of the anime and manga, but I know that when they brought out like they appeased, I guess, to the kids and the younger adults, which was Samurai Jack. I really liked that series. I thought it was a pretty good series that they put together, especially the first
Samurai
two
Jack is really
episodes.
good.
So
Yeah,
Yeah.
Samurai Jack. I completely forgot. Like, it's in the name.
he went out of his way to try and put as
Exactly.
little dialogue in the film in that show as possible.
Yeah,
yes,
Samurai Jack's awesome. Afro Samurai. I would call that Samurai. It's in the
Also
name.
the title.
Yeah, I mean
That's
that's
Agreed.
awesome.
oh yeah, Samuel Jackson's phenomenal in that.
I mean, it's just Samuel L. Jackson. It's hard to argue with them.
Well, he plays the two main roles with Afro and Ninja.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although it's debatable whether or not Ninja's his imaginary friend or not.
Yeah. But as stated, like it's hard to argue with Samuel.
agreed.
Just not so much directly ninja, but not so much directly samurai, but Naruto has samurai in it. I mean, Naruto's ninjas, kind of. I don't really want to call them like direct ninjas, given what ninjas were and how they're kind of just like dudes on a battlefield.
So historically, ninjas kind of sort of didn't actually exist.
There were people better at assassinating.
Well,
Assassinating?
so
How do words?
Assassination.
assassination.
Yeah, that's the word.
So technically, the ninjas that you think of when it comes to like the black suits and all that stuff, like
Yeah, as popularized in, let's say, The Last Samurai when they attacked.
or Shokusoge or whatever, that
Insert period.
yeah, that actually wasn't a thing. In fact, black suits aren't even all that practical for actual self. Real ninjas would wear like dark navy blue and browns because that actually
Yeah, indigo colors.
yes, that would actually contrast better to the natural night sky and everything than actual black. Because if you know how, but yeah, no. So even then, those weren't really that much of an actual thing. Like there are, like the Ika and Koga weren't samurai clans, but they weren't also peasant clans. They were more, I'd almost say, closer to like monk clans, because they were a lot of the ninja stuff was descendant of Yamabushi monks, who were these type of esoteric monks that came in from China and would teach like because they would do like esoteric survival stuff and everything. They would use so a lot of ninjutsu is more just kind of basic like rural survival and living
Okay.
than it is like going out there and being like an assassin, killing a bunch of samurai.
Sure, but I mean, even still, I would say Naruto, how they, a ninja clan. I want to be the best ninja. Things like that. Like, they're just dudes with powers walking into battlefields,
They do have a lot of reference to actual historical ninja figures and ninja fiction, though. For example, Jiraiya, Tsunade, and Orochimaru are literally just the legend of Gallant Jiraiya, which is an old ninja fairy tale, kind of, sort of. So, yeah, I mean,
Can you concur, John?
I do definitely.
I mean,
Um. Oh no, go ahead.
I was gonna say they steal a lot of names too from Date Masamune's legendary 13 Ninja, or 13 Assassins, whatever you want. But was it 13 or was it 12? 12, maybe.
It was 13.
Was it? Yeah, it was, yeah. Dante. Yeah, okay, sorry, 13. So,
But yeah, I mean, there's that. There's again more things like we don't like to bring them up, but Rurouni Kenshin. That's that was widely popular.
still is. They're redoing the anime now.
Yeah, I mean that got, from what I was told, fantastic live action Netflix adaptation.
Netflix just bought the streaming rights. It was way before Netflix.
Okay.
Yeah. And yeah, I went on that whole little rant about it in that one episode anyway. But
Yeah.
yeah, disclaimer: we don't support Kenshin's author, but I believe in death of the author. So plus a lot of other people are involved in it, and they're getting paydays anyway. So whatever. You know, same thing with Harry Potter.
Speaking of
death
remakes,
the author. You can worship.
speaking of remakes, are you guys looking forward to Shogun, the new version of it coming out?
Oh yeah, I did hear about that. Yes, I am actually looking forward to it. Yes.
I know very little.
I think
of
it's
this.
next year on Hulu. Is that correct?
Interesting. So, Shogun was a TV miniseries or mini movie series from back in the 80s.
Like Band of
80s.
Brothers type
Yep,
of
my
thing.
time.
Yeah, kind of an akin. Yeah, this the kind of akin to like how Band of Brothers was, where it was like mini movie.
Yeah.
And it was-
Hour-long cinematic experience, all told,
I
gets
think
into like
yeah.
five thing. Yeah,
And it
type
was
of thing.
based off a novel.
Based on a novel from James Clavell. Yeah,
Okay,
it was a
that's what it might have been.
great book, and then the series was good too. Yeah.
But yeah, it's about it's essentially Last Samurai before Last Samurai, but it's about a Westerner who gets accidentally washes up ashore in Japan and then kind of becomes a samurai over the course of the book. It's loosely also based off the story of fuck is his name, William Adams, I think is his name, who famously was a Westerner who became a samurai.
Interesting.
Yeah, there are about 40-ish documented Western samurai, like well-documented Western samurai, and then some other one, not Western, but I mean foreign samurai, more specifically like foreigners, like even not just Westerners, but other people from other countries too.
Yeah, I mean, not that we haven't said it before, but a lot of places at that time were very like restrictive on who is and isn't allowed in, type of thing, and
That
saw some prejudice.
actually, believe it or not, really wasn't too big of a thing in Japan until again the Edo period. They were way more receptive of foreigners before the Edo period, especially because that's how they got their guns.
Yeah.
It wasn't until the Edo period where essentially Tokugawa said, fuck you guys, we don't want any influence. Aside from, I think they only let the Dutch in, and that was once a year,
Interesting.
if memory serves. Yeah, they came in once a year, did some trading, gave them some guns, some other stuff, news of the world, and then they fucked off, and Japan was its own little thing again.
Interesting.
Yeah, it wasn't until we showed up and basically just shot a bunch of cannons into their fucking...
Yeah, we went big cannon on boat, big cannon. We come here now, we trade. Big cannon.
Oh god, what is his name in the black? What's his name in the black ships, as they called him? Oh god, what was the name of the guy who did it? Because yeah, he's kind of their equivalent to like Christopher Columbus almost, in terms of like liking him and hating him at the same time. I just can't think of his fucking name. What is his name?
Who reintroduced America into trading with Japan, effectively?
Yeah. The guy who headed it, yeah. There specifically was one guy who headed the fleet and the ships and stuff and was our specific ambassador. I just can't think of his name off the top of my head. I used to know it, too. Oh, man, what the fuck is his name? Whatever. Anyway. But,
Not important. What is important is samurai in video games. Onimusha.
great games, actually. They're essentially just Resident Evil, but just redone into a samurai game.
Yeah, feudal samurai nonsense. There's that. There's Yoshimitsu is in name a fighting game. He's in it. Call back to our fighting game episode.
Had to get a call back in there.
Call back to callback. But
I mean,
I don't even really know, like.
Soul Calibur, Samurai Showdown. Samurai Showdown was my game, man. Hattori Hanzo was my, of course, being into ninjas and such. But yeah, Hattori Hanzo and Samurai Showdown, and then Mitsurugi from Soul Calibur.
Yep, Mitsurugi, Yoshimitsu.
well, Yoshimitsu is technically supposed to be a ninja.
Yeah, depending on which variant you get, because there's like 8 different variants of Yoshimitsu, including which variant in which fighting games franchise, and when does he cross over with other fighting game franchises, and when is he allowed to be which version?
Well, I mean, if we're going off how we established the lore, everything happens everywhere all at once because we're going off Fate's Day rules.
Yes. Sonic episode callback.
Also, the world is a disc on top of 4 elephants on top of a turtle flying through space. This is the lore.
Yep.
Anyway.
Discworld.
But I mean,
there really is just an insane amount of like samurai in media and nonsense like that. It's kind of.
There's, like I said, like the.
You can see their influence everywhere.
If you go see a bunch of people, like if you see like people who need like, or who go and pick up a bunch of like fighters or, gunslingers, that's 7 samurai to defend them. If you find a guy who plays 2 gangs against each other, into
Gangs of New York.
You could also say like Lucky Number 11. I mean, technically, I want to say it's A Bug's Life is basically just 7 samurai. I think it's the one where the ant goes and gets the circus bugs, and he brings it back to the ant colony to help them defend against.
I always get that one confused with ants.
Yeah, because it's ants where it's them and the crickets are. No, it is okay. It is the Bug's Life with the crickets. I think it's ants where they're trying to get each other because one of them's a douchebag or whatever, one or the other. But yeah, for all intents and purposes, one of the Disney films or Pixar films is just basically 7 samurai.
Was it Disney or Pixar?
Whichever one where, like I said, it's where the ant goes and gets those circus bugs, and there's like the ladybug who's not a ladybug. And is it A Bug's Life?
Bug's Life. That's Bug's Life.
Yeah, I think it is A Bug's Life.
Ants is more depicted of actual colored not colored ants. They're not blue. They're a little bit more like realistic. It has Woody Allen.
Yeah.
As Woody Allen.
Gross.
Yep.
Fuck Woody Allen.
Yeah, I think they also have Patrick Warburton as a guy in that.
Oh yeah, I think he's his friend, the worker ant. Oh no, the warrior ant who becomes a worker ant for him.
Oh yeah, it's all coming together now.
But yeah, they want to say A Bug's Life is based off an Aesop's fable tale, but it's essentially 7 samurai.
Interesting.
Yeah, they're trying to stop a protection racket of grasshoppers, which is, a group of bandits that raids them. And they go and hire tough warriors to try and help them.
Rango?
Rango would more, actually, I'd almost say that's, I want to say that's almost actually closer to Sanjuro in terms of plot, which was the sequel to Yojimbo.
You know what Rango is? The lizard Johnny Depp played?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I'm just trying to think. I think that actually might almost be closer in terms of plotline to Sanjuro than it is to Yojimbo, because he doesn't play 2 gangs against each other in that one. He's just there helping a town defend itself. Yeah, I'd say it's more closer to Sanjuro then. Yeah. But even then, I think that's actually more based partially off of, I want to say, a few dollars more.
Here's the real question. Blazing Saddles.
I don't know if that one has any real samurai film connections. Off the
Yeah,
top.
I don't see any influence there either.
Yeah, I'm not seeing much influence from there because that's because what that one is they hire a controversial person to help internally demolish the town so they could take over. Which I don't know any samurai films off the top of my head that does that. That might be more a reference to an actual different western of the time, plot wise. Yeah, I don't think that has. I think that might just kind of be that might be based off something else, but I can't think of a samurai film for that one to have. Because the plots are a little, yeah.
I would say that you could almost see references to Last Samurai with it.
Last Samurai came after
Yes, but I mean, like the story that it was based off of.
Last Samurai. I don't even know if that's actually based off anything either. Besides,
They hire him to help take down the town. He ends up working for the town to save it, so this way they can have.
that's almost saying it's like. I mean, that's almost more like Dances with Wolves,
That's
Yeah.
fine.
which is something else.
It's just Avatar. It all falls back on Avatar
Yes.
or Pocahontas, whichever one you want to say.
Last of the Mohicans.
I mean, really,
I
they.
don't know.
As long as we're not talking about the Last Airbender, which samurai?
No.
What?
No. That's
Well, no, I know that there's no samurai in that, but like, is there any samurai influence in that?
That's more based off of Chinese martial arts films.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure there's some, but a lot of like all the fighting styles are all basically Chinese based.
Yeah, but the fighting style doesn't make it whether a samurai film or not. We've established that canonically earlier.
This is
I mean,
kinda-
just look at Star Wars.
I mean,
Lightsabers with freaking magic, which also I guess makes Harry Potter kind of samurai.
no,
Mm,
Yeah.
they don't.
Yeah. There was. Look, man, I saw a guy on YouTube. Shout out to YouTube. Shorts compare Harry Potter and Star Wars, and I was like, yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Okay, so the thing is Star Wars, like I said, it is a samurai film, but also is using. See, what they're thinking of is the savior hero trope that they're comparing, where there is that in a lot kind of samurai films, but not really too like, but. Yeah, what they're trying, I think they're more comparing that with the savior, like savior chosen one who's specifically meant for that destiny trope, where samurai films, I've never really seen that in a samurai film. I mean, yeah, there's like the one samurai who's usually a little bit better than the others.
Miyamoto Musashi, who we didn't even reference until this second.
I referenced him with the samurai trilogy when I said Toshiro Mifune played him, but whatever.
I don't remember you saying that he played Musashi.
I could have sworn I said
yeah, I remember.
Okay, then I'm just drunk.
And I just watched that movie too the other day, so that's another favorite of mine.
the samurai trilogy.
Yes, because they have them on Max right now. So I've been
Really?
been watching,
Oh, yeah,
keeping
they
them
are.
saved. Yeah,
Yeah, there's a lot of good samurai films on Max right now.
there's a lot of good ones right now. There's the
Because they're
Lone
on
Wolf
the,
and Cub series and everything. Yeah.
Not sponsored
Well,
by HBO Max. Just have to shout
Yeah.
that out.
well, they're just Max now.
Right,
But,
sorry.
Yeah, well, a lot of them are in the because they have the Turner Warner the Warner, like not the Warner, the Criterion.
Turner Movie Classics.
Yeah,
Or yeah, the Criterion stuff. Yeah.
yeah, they have access, not the whole thing, but they have access to like most of the Criterion collection. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it's a
I'm trying to think of something else.
okay, whatever. But yeah, they don't have.
I can tell you I would not know what the Criterion Collective is.
It's they're what they do is they basically get like films that they see that are considered like important, and you know,
Oh, they're part of that nonsense type
yeah,
thing. Okay.
they're I think they're actually even partially sponsored by the Library of Congress too,
Okay, yeah.
because they because they have like a lot of like classic films that like they have like a lot of the old Godzilla Showa films and stuff. They have a lot of like old classic French cinema and stuff. It's like movies.
What was the Japanese fuck. You told me to watch it on the Mystery Science Theater 3000 because public domain.
Wait, are you talking about Cyrano de Bergerac
Yeah, there's a samurai film with that.
of Cyrano?
Yeah. Yeah, I looked it up on the Googles.
I think I do know there's a couple of animated versions of Cyrano. I didn't know there's specifically a samurai based one. I'll have to look that up. Because have you ever seen the 1950s film Cyrano de Bergerac?
Myself?
Yeah,
I have not.
Sorry. It's a public domain now. You can even watch it on Wikipedia. Like Wikipedia will actually host public domain films on its page too, which is nifty. Technically, that makes
Oh,
Wikipedia
that's cool.
streaming service. But yeah, it's you ever seen the movie Roxanne with Steve Martin? The one where he has the big
A
nose
long
and is a
time
fire-
ago, yes.
So that's
Yeah.
that's the film it's based off of. It's about the fencer with a really long nose who's also a poet, and he tries to get the more handsome guy to get the girl and stuff.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's also one of those movies where when you look at it, you go, oh, that's where that's from. Similar to, like I said, like Seven Samurai.
Where carries that influence over?
Oh
Gotcha.
shit, Toshiro Mifume's in it. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna have to look that up now. All right.
It's a Samurai Saga. I found it on the old Googles.
Yeah, with Toshiro. Okay, interesting. I'm gonna have to see that now. It's on my to-do list.
That came out in 1959. You might be able to find it on the interwebs.
Possibly not, because Japan is a little bit more stringent with their copyright stuff.
Yes, but hear me out. Internet Archives. You can find anything on Internet Archives.
But yeah, no, it's the black and white. Yeah, if you get the chance, it's on YouTube too for free. It's but yeah, if you get the chance,
Not
look it up.
sponsored
It's a
by
really
YouTube
good.
until they sponsor us.
The guy who plays the guy who plays Cyrano is a fucking, like, he is really good. Like, he just eats that whole role. Like, so yeah, especially at the ending. I'm not gonna spoil it, but dude, he will, like, just the way he just emotes at the ending is so he's so good. I'm sorry.
Sounds like he likes it.
It's a good film.
I don't think I've ever heard him be so passionate about a movie before.
I mean,
Other than maybe Godzilla. You're a big Godzilla guy.
I mean that I kind of went into that whole, like, real passionate thing about the first Samurai X film when we did it, about how I thought that one little moment was probably like,
Sure, but that was a moment as opposed to a whole film.
I mean, I could get that way about, say, Yojimbo too. It's just, I mean, like I said, Yojimbo, just it's so much, like, even like a lot of tropes you just see in spite of it, like, it just is kind of just from, like, Yojimbo, and even then, like, Sanjuro or any of, like, Kurosawa's work in general, like, he, like,
Is he where we get the loud screeching sounds from as well? Whenever somebody gets cut or dies on, like, intense close-ups?
kind of, sort of, he, like, yeah, like they're like, oh, like, yeah, that's in the
No, like that metallic.
the ching noise.
Yeah.
Oh, kind of, except in a lot of it's more like kind of almost blunted, like a quack, quack noise, or a or a the metallic chinging noise really didn't come about until a little bit later, but audible noises when somebody is cut is also very present in his films.
Okay.
If you heard the sound effect, you'd know what I'm kind of talking about, because it's also still used a lot, especially in anime too, where somebody gets cut.
Are you telling me people recycle sounds? Because that never Wilhelm screams.
It's almost like a ah. No, I think it's more of a oh. DBZA reference. Reference the references. Haha, got one in.
The Wilhelm.
And then he gets shot and does it.
The
Yeah, that was
Wilhelm.
totally it. But yeah, I mean it. Then Seven Samurai too. Like I said, the like just a lot of like characterization that you see, like, you know, each individual person kind of having their own characterization and almost having their own moment and stuff. It's I mean, hell, you want to get into like there's like just Toshiro Mifume's character in itself. It goes through such a transformation throughout the film. He like he starts off as like just this drunk braggart who's just trying to be a samurai and carries a large nodachi to just you know, show his strength or like show off and be like get attention. He steals like this scroll for family lineage because samurai are supposed to have a family lineage scroll on them, if not at all times, but they're just kind of supposed to prove that you're a samurai. And you know, he gets the scroll from somewhere and, you know, tries to show that he's a samurai, and he accidentally says that he's 8 years old, which is fucking hilarious. But like at the end of the film, when his nodachi breaks, he ends up taking up a katana and killing the, you know, getting shot and then killing the boss of the bandits, like, and becoming a samurai in the spirit of itself. They bury him with a sword with the other samurai, like, you know, you. Like, even the other character, the kid whose name is slipping me right now, he, you know, ends up falling in love and having his heart broken throughout the film. He kills a man for the first time. He sees war, you know, he grows up. It's, I mean, even at the end when they realize that they lost the battle, it wasn't their battle to win. It was the peasants' battle. And you see that, you know, it's just... it's art. Even the way he frames all of his, like, in all of his movies, the way he frames every shot and every scene, he turns it into a piece of art. Anyway, sorry, I got off screen. Although I do have to say, I saw there's a cinema near us that's it's a college one, I guess. They did showings of Yojimbo and Seven Samurai. It's hilarious.
Oh, nice.
Before Seven Samurai started, I guess there was one of their professors or something, like one of their film professors, who's doing a speech about it, and it was hilarious to me because he broached the topic of feudal Japan as a film professor and not as somebody who understands history. So watching him kind of fumble around with certain historical stuff and words and stuff was hilariously cringy to me. Because he was so passionate about Kurosawa and his filmmaking, and he kind of goes into weird trek about like the theme of the film and how and stuff, and like yeah, so it's kind of like, all right, like, yeah, I get it. You're a big film buff and love Kurosawa for his films, but you have not a fucking clue about actual samurai, do you, mate?
All right. Do we have anything else to add? Or
sorry if I spoiled Seven Samurai, by the way.
No. I haven't seen it in a while, actually.
Well, I'm talking about for anybody who's watching this who hasn't actually watched it.
Oh, I got you.
It's if you want to see the whole film, it's 3 hours and 45 minutes. It actually doesn't even feel like that, though. It actually feels like a bit less, although it's technically 3 hours and 40 minutes because there's a 5-minute built-in intermission sequence, which has some really good music to go with it, too, by the way. And even then, like Yojimbo 2, Sanjiro. I'd also suggest Ran, specifically from Kurosawa.
Samurai Saga.
Samurai Saga, which isn't Kurosawa, but is
based solely off the fact that it's
Mifune.
Well, that and
Cyrano, yeah.
Supposed to be Cyrano de Bergerac.
The remake of Harikiri, although the original is good too, which is also Takeshi Miike.
That's also on Tubi right now. That and 13
Tubi?
Assassins. Yes.
Well, I watched 13 Assassins through Hulu, I want to say about 6 or 7 years ago, last I remember.
Not sponsored.
So I don't know if it's still on there or not, but whatever.
But anything else to add, guys?
I think we covered a lot. Appreciate it, y'all having me. I really do.
Yeah, of course.
Sorry.
I don't know if you plugged it earlier, but we did miss it. So go ahead and plug your stuff again if you did. or if you didn't,
Oh.
if
Yeah, you
you
wanna plug
if
your
you want to
YouTube-
plug it or not,
Your
go
specific
for
YouTube
it.
channel.
Oh, I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I run a YouTube channel called That Ninja Show. Mainly, I'm focused on just the '80s craze because that's the time that I grew up in, and of course, I cover a little bit more and of the ninja films that take place from the '80s on. I also review a lot of the weaponry that's still around these days, plus talk with other collectors because there are a lot of Shokasugi ninja movie collectors that are kind of out there. So just been reconnecting with a lot of them and such, and hopefully continue to grow and hopefully do more episodes with you guys too. So
Yeah, by all means, please. If you got any others,
appreciate it. I really do.
Yeah, you were a good guest.
whatever subject you got an idea for, specifically like 80s ninja movies or whatever else you want to do, man, we can always come up with an episode.
Or if you want us to backtrack on any episodes, or I know a couple of them have been part ones, like the Marvel. If you are a Marvel guy, if you want to hop in on part 2 for firearms, things like that, by all means.
Oh yeah, definitely firearms, and yeah, I'm a Marvel guy without a doubt. So
Yeah, I mean, if you got a topic, we'll talk about it as best as we can.
cool,
That applies to the,
guys. I really appreciate it. Thank you
commenters.
so much.
Yeah, man.
All right, man. You have a good rest of the evening, and we'll hopefully be seeing you in the future.
Have a good night.
All right, take care.